Real Talk TV, Saturday night.
Welcome to Real Talk TV. My name is Roger Henry, and on this week's edition of It's an Inside Job, as part of Black History Month, we have the proudest of pleasures to be at Cllr Hall, the former home of Lord Byron, interviewing Leslie Ayoola. Hi, Leslie.
Hi, Roger.
Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for allowing me to come.
Well, you know what? We have so many unsung heroes within Nottingham, Nottinghamshire, who don't really get a mention. And as I say, it's an inside job. It's about the real Leslie Ayoola, so people can actually have a better understanding of you. So where did all your sort of life start from?
Gosh, many years ago, as you can see with these grey hairs. Yeah. Born in 1971, humble beginnings. My father is from Nigeria. He passed away some years ago. My mother's from Jamaica. They met here in the UK, so I grew up.
So let me just peel that back, African and Jamaican.
Yes, because
historically, the two don't mix.
Well, yes. So yeah, there are some people who have got a mindset to say that Africans and Caribbeans don't necessarily mix. I think there were outside forces that get people to argue and fight amongst themselves. But actually, we've got more in common than some of our differences.
Of course.
We all came from the same part of Africa, so over the years, and so the Caribbean, Jamaica, etc. We've only got a history of about 300-400 years. After that, they all came from the west part of Africa. Many were Nigerians, from and also the west coast around Ghana, etc. Yeah. So we're the same people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So education is key.
100%. It's one of the keys, I would say. Not the only one, but yes, in Nigerian culture, they do drill education as one of the keys to get out of poverty, and heavily focused on like social mobility, because it's the way out of hardship, etc.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, they proud themselves on that, and we embrace that.
So let's just touch on family, because obviously I've known you a long time.
Very, yeah.
Your brother Benga was my best friend for many years at school, and obviously I knew Sheena.
Yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that in a bit, and Deo as well. So
yeah.
But there's more. You've also got a younger brother. I believe, has been in Hollywood working with Tom Cruise. And
yes, and did some work with Stephen Graham, This Is England, and I do know what I have Jermaine. He's a Lyrebird, but he uses an Vauxhall.
Yeah, I've seen
He basically, I have to try and keep up with all the things he's doing. He's been in adverts, etc. Yeah. Films he's done with Channel 4. I think it's called A Rig or something like that. So there's so many things that he does, and he's a very inspirational young guy as well.
So very talented family. Parents have raised you in a certain way.
Yeah.
What was the kind of thing that you remember them driving you into?
Well, it's interesting when you say they raised me. My mum actually left and went to America when I was 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I was raised with my grandma.
Jamaican, grandma's unbelievable. Me too as well.
Jamaican grandma, so from Clarendon, Killets.
Yeah.
So then spent a number of years with her, and then went to live with my dad. Right, so my dad at one point was raising 3 or 4 little Nigerian boys single-handedly himself.
Brilliant.
And from around about the age of 6, we unfortunately went into care, and we spent about 4 or 5 years in the care system. So that shaped my view on life, and shaped, in a sense, who and what I do and who I am now. So after we came back from Nigeria, we all were moved to, it was then St. Anne's, but it's actually in Mapley now. So we all was raised there. And then obviously continued our lives back with our father.
And the irony of that is that that is your constituency, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, when it was St. Anne's, and now it's Mapley, and I've moved back there, and I'm now the councillor, one of the 3 councillors there. Running around the streets, up to mischief, I would say, as a young lad, but obviously grown and developed with heavy influences from definitely my father, but also local church where I started going to when I was around about 17 or so, New Testament Church of God in St. Anne's.
So we'll touch on faith in a bit, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking as we sat here, the very same roads you were running around, now you're running around campaigning
Yes.
on those particular roads and streets, which is kind of funny, you know, the irony.
And that's because, one, I know the local area, two, I've got a passion and a drive, because I understand the challenges what those people have gone through, because I went through the same challenges myself. And sometimes, unfortunately, a lot hasn't changed because the trajectory of people's lives through social mobility hasn't changed. We haven't become a richer country. We haven't become a richer community. And that's the reason why I'm passionate about trying to help, change people's lives through the work I do.
Brilliant. Just to be controversial, because I was with a gentleman today, a white male, and he said to me, but as black people, surely we should be celebrating, how far we've come as black people.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, I think we always should celebrate how far we've come. But sometimes I think that people probably don't understand the extent of where we have come from. We were the first people who walked the face of the earth. Yeah. All of the technology, all of the architecture, arithmetic, geography, etc., all came from Africa. Yeah. Pythagoras theorem, etc., Egypt, in Africa, all developed, came through there. So we've got a lot of things to be proud and celebrate, but it's the fact that a lot of people don't actually understand it. And it's not taught openly and widely, and for a variety of reasons, but it needs to be, because our history is the world's history. And once people fully embrace it, we will be in a better position to try and address some of the problems what we're facing in society today.
Absolutely. Let's just touch on faith, because in the time I've known you, or before I even really knew, I've got to say, you had an amazing brother.
Yeah.
Sheena. And I remember being at home, and obviously we'd left school then.
Yeah.
And he popped up on BBC, a program called, was it No Limits?
No Limits, yeah.
And I was like, wow, because where I come from, I've never seen anybody, who I know who's on television, and he was a trailblazer, right?
Yeah, and you know what? He was a trailblazer of our family. He was a spearhead. He's one of the biggest influences in my life. Got me into the things what I do, and believing that I could achieve those things. I can remember him talking about this thing called an equity card when he was trying to get into acting. And my younger brother, Jermaine, who's followed in his footsteps as well into acting, etc., he's gone in that direction. And he's been that inspiration. We've seen where, even from his dress sense and what he used to do is no fear in addressing things which were either comfortable or he wanted to get change. We saw that in an older brother. So sometimes you actually forget what shaped you and influenced you. But when you take time to sit back and reflect, you realise that people like your family members do play a major role in who and what you are today.
Yeah. As you're speaking, I'm just reflecting, and I hope you don't mind me sharing it with the audience, I never ever would have imagined Sheena to have taken heroin. And obviously I'm in recovery myself, and drug addiction, it just robs you. How did you feel at the time when you first discovered that?
Well, I mean, it impacted not just me, it impacted all of our family. From my father, who wanted to see the best for him because he went to university. He was, when he passed away, he was actually a lecturer at, it's now not in college, but back then it was People's College. He was a lecturer there. He was about to start.
How old was he?
He was possibly in his 30s, probably like 34.
Wow.
So it was a loss. And that, gives me an appreciation to say, look, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. The people have got a lot of challenges in life, and drug addiction is one of those big things that also needs to be addressed. But sometimes people use drugs to cover up a lot of the trauma and the pain which they've experienced in earlier parts of life. And it's just unfortunate that whilst Sheena was very skilled, very talented, because your gifts don't go away from you. The talent's what you're born with. They're yours to do and excel in the world. But if you don't capture and take control of that sin, those demons, they will overtake you, they will overcome you. And it's just unfortunate that he passed away due to that, and it's unfortunate, but I think it's a lesson for all of us, and it just gives us much more an appreciation of what life can be for all of us, and just to cherish it more and cherish family, and to work and help people address some of the challenges what they've got.
So, having the conversation with you, knowing that you're a politician. Just for those who, this is Councillor Leslie Ayoola. You'll see it under the bottom of the, the credits and stuff. And we specifically didn't want to go down that line, but to have such a major loss, to be able to find that inner power, to be able to shift from that place. What inspired you? Because obviously the journey and the trajectory that you're on now, for most people, they would have gave up. It's interesting. People, ask me that, and I think it's a combination of things. 100% my faith. I became a Christian when I was 17 years old, and heavily influenced by a local church, New Testament Church of God. Who took you to that church? Was it something you decided to do on your own?
Yeah, I was interested. My mum, it's when I went on holiday to America, and back in those days I was heavily into hip hop, and days of Run DMC and LL Cool J, and I thought I was going to America to have a good time and go to parties, etc. No, my mum had different ideas. You're going to church. So I had that experience, but it really impacted me in a way that actually what they call this experience is called very simple thing called born again. You say a simple prayer, and then you go on a journey with God to become a better person. And I became born again in America, but when I came back to the UK, it took me a while to get into it. And it's only then, about a year or so later, then I started going to church. And that was like the next phase of my development, because I was surrounding myself with people who were like-minded, who could coach me, who could, train me, who can develop me. And it not only impacted my, my moral walk and spiritual walk in life, but also impacted my educational.
So just to interrupt then, when people talk about politics, right, it's almost like mentioning the word God. What I mean by that is it creates a kickback. You're a politician. Oh yeah, you're all dodgy.
You're
all the same. But what you're talking about now is being once again a trailblazer, because you're maintaining your spiritual core values, your integrity, which is what people really need right now. Because a lot of people have lost faith over the last several years. So, by walking in that righteous path, heart touches heart, and people now are not silly. They can tell if someone's authentic or not. And you are an authentic guy.
Well, I appreciate that. I've still got a lot of challenges. I still get disillusioned. I still get upset when I see injustice, not only in my own self, but in others. But I think it's a part of a journey where you've got to keep on that road of fighting for for things to get better in life, fighting against injustice, trying to resolve problems that you see in your community, and being a champion for people, those people who haven't got a voice.
Can I be controversial?
Yeah, go ahead.
Many people.
You always are, Roger.
I'm controversial.
So go ahead. Nothing changes here.
Right, okay. I think, in my authenticity, I like to be a bit different, and many would say, when you mention Leslie Ayoola, well, he sits on the fence. When you hear that, does it create any kind of reaction, or is there a method if you do sit on the fence, as to why you sit on the fence.
Yeah, I just go like this. I don't know if you've seen it before. Just brush it off your shoulder.
Brush it off your shoulder.
Because people think that there's one way to skin a cat.
Right.
There's one strategy that you use. When you're talking about strategy and quote unquote sitting on the fence, it's not about that. It's a part of about having wisdom. I always use a scripture which says, "Be quick to listen, but slow to speak."
Okay.
Some people just like to.
Where do I find that in the Bible?
Yeah, it's in New Testament, James.
Okay, right,
Yeah.
okay.
So you be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. So you do that, you operate in that way because you want to gather all the facts first. Take an informed decision about what you're going to say, then say it. You know, and that's what I've come to do. There's times when I want to speak out, but I understand that sometimes just my presence alone, me a person, being in a room with other people may trigger them. So I understand what goes off in the minds of other people. So I'm cautious sometimes in what I say and when I say it. There's times when I have to turn up the heat. Yeah. Because that's what's needed.
So if I say to you spiritual discernment, what does that mean to you?
Spiritual discernment, gosh. I would say...
Because I've been reading about that lately.
Yeah. I think a part of it is around having wisdom, being tuned into that higher power and understanding that actually testing the waters and knowing what's wrong and what's right and not just coming to a quick judgment about something. And it takes time. You have to, you know...
So this is what they mean by sitting on the fence and not being responsive and reactive and giving an answer straight away.
Yeah.
It's that patience and understanding of the full narrative.
Picture. Yeah, exactly. Okay. And it's if, you know, just because you feel something doesn't mean you have to verbalize it.
So is this part of emotional intelligence, would you say, as well?
Yeah. Very much so. And if you don't master it, it will end up mastering you.
Well, once you put it out there.
Yeah, you can't take it back.
That's right.
you can't take it back at all.
So that's a lesson for me to learn because, well, you know me. Just to touch on a real serious aspect, obviously, in Nottingham, we had the incidents with the 3 people. Well, actually, it was 4 or 5 in terms of that period in Nottingham.
And you know, when you say you see 3 people, you're talking about
the 2 students and the caretaker.
Okay. There's another 3 also in Clifton who died away at the hands of a guy who lived next door to the family, a woman called Fatima.
Right. Okay.
Unfortunately died in a fire, which was house was set ablaze. Mother and her 2 children, you know, unfortunately got killed. So
can we be controversial with that? Okay, because it's a difficult one, but I've got to be able to be speaking my truth.
Yeah.
We saw the whole country on a national level, you know, come out, pay homage, you know, to those 3 people, the students and the caretaker. And it was massive news. But from a media perspective, a black family, a mother with 2 children who were killed in such an horrific way through arson, deliberately as well. There was no balance in terms of the amount of exposure. Why do you think that is?
Roger, it pains me, you know, to even say this.
Because we're all human.
Right? You definitely are human. And, you know, I've got a young baby, 2.5 years old. And just to think that my child could have been in that fire. I think it's a time for all of us to reflect, not only the people in Nottingham and how we treat the death of people, but also to give greater value and prominence to those. And I think that as a country and as a society, certain lives aren't judged as equal, unfortunately. And we need to be able to, you know, address that in how we treat people, but also how we create opportunities for them, and how we, deal with our justice system. And media play a major role in that. So I think it's a lesson for all of us to learn that what impacts one part of the community impacts us all. And it's terrible that the 2 students and the caretaker died, but also Fatima and her 2 children as well. And I think both of them, the protected characteristics of each person who's a perpetrator. One was a black man, and one was a white man. And how the media portrayed those two stories there wasn't no balance in that. And so I think it's editorially and how we treat the media and how the media focuses on certain things, both in the city of Nottingham, both had a national press, but the way and the prominence and the weighting of those 2 stories were really different. But unfortunately, I think these are the things that we have to deal with on an ongoing basis to try and bring some sort of equity and balance in our society.
No, very fine words, Leslie, and I think I've got to agree, because it's not about black and white, it's about equality and fairness, and that is really, really important. Just talking about fairness, Nottingham at the moment, I've never seen so many black councillors and Asian. I mean, the diversity has grown. You guys are down there working hard to make the changes. How is that, having an impact in terms of the community? Are they welcoming you, or do they see you as kind of just as a tokenistic?
It's interesting you use that word, tokenistic.
Yeah, because it's a powerful word. Trying to stay away from that.
You can have, to say they're all BME, councillors. The impact is what people see in their lives, in everyday lives. So yes, you can have an increase of black and Asian and other ethnic minority councillors, but what people are wanting to see are the policy changes. They wanted to see the improvement in health outcomes.
But surely that's not about the colour of a person's skin. That's then what Dr. Luther King says. We are judged by the character. Yeah. So,
and it's not always easy to see the character of people just because they are elected officials.
Right. Okay.
So you've also got to not only have the character, but the willingness to do something, have an understanding of the problems and challenges that communities are facing, but also put into practice the policies which are going to make the changes that impacts the people who live in our communities. So it's not easy. It's a long game.
It is a long game, and I've got to say it's very courageous, because not everybody is prepared to put their head above the parapet and be shot at times. Which brings me to sacrifice. Your title, your position, your home life in particular, right? The impacts that no one sees, the stuff that goes on behind. I mean, I'm assuming your wife, your partner is a very powerful, supportive,
black woman. I obviously I have to give credit to her.
I thought I'd add that in, because when she sees this, she's not mentioned.
And all the work she does, all the work she does in raising my little one. It does have an impact on your children. I mean, I've got 2 children, 2 different ages, 1 2.5, 1 11. So there's an impact.
So that's from a previous marriage, that?
Previous marriage, and the latest marriage, and I'll say the last one is to my wife, Diana. But they do crave the time, and I do crave the time, but split priorities and commitments I've got means that sometimes I'm out of the house a lot of the time, but it's sometimes about planning and trying to coordinate times and making sacred time to your family, so you can spend time with them. It's really important, and but it's a constant battle. But one thing you can't shy away from is that what I call a calling, that vocation.
Is that how you see it, as a calling, a purpose?
Yeah, I can't see it no other way.
But some others may see that as an ego trip. It's like, look at me, I've got a title. That's not you.
And I'm more motivated by other things, Roger.
Yeah.
You see, for me, it's you put the titles to one side, but what's the legacy of the title?
Exactly.
You've done something. My thing is about the legacy I leave my children.
Absolutely.
The legacy I leave my wife.
And the community.
Yeah, and the community. Those are the things what people are gonna know and hear you about and say, okay, this person did this.
But that's forcing legislation and changing legislation, because we have lots of people in the community, or community leaders, but your trajectory is to put yourself in a place to force and change legislation, which is very admirable.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
It's the truth.
Yeah. I sometimes
you can't take compliments.
Yes, that's true. As you can see, that's something I've got to work on myself.
But that humility is beautiful as well. Don't lose sight of that.
No. But I always go back and think, yes, whilst I can accept praise and admiration as well, but there's more work to be done.
Always.
And that's a trajectory I think of, and it's like, I might be benefiting as an individual, but if my community is not there to share and benefit, those people who I grew up with, those people I went to school with, and those people I see day to day in our community, if they're not experiencing the same thing what I'm experiencing, appreciating that life, living it more abundantly, then that's only half of a story being told for me. I want everybody to be to benefit from this.
So as we bring, sorry to interject, as we bring the show to a close, what words of encouragement that you would give to our youth, whether they're black, Asian, white, in this current time at the moment, the cost of living, all these things that are going off. We had COVID, which has had a big impact on young people's mental health. What kind of motivation or inspirational words would you leave them with?
One of the things I'd say, and obviously, not my words, but from Jesse Jackson's, keep hope alive. And they're not, they can be roll off the tongue and be very, as a flippant statement or so, but it's actually, you've got to keep hope alive. You've got to be positive. You've always got to be looking at solutions and way out. For you. Don't just see that it's all negative. It's
living
all
in the problem.
Yeah, because you got to look for solutions. I can remember working at YMCA many years ago, and a then chief executive, as Will Wakefield, said to me, I was having a problem and dealing with some youth work, and I kept on going on about it. And he said, "Stop! He said, "Don't come to me with problems. Come to me with solutions." So once you train your mind to think about solutions, how are we going to get over this problem, then you'll start finding ways out. And I think our youth are resilient. I think they are trailblazers. I think they even those ones who we call, misfits in society, and those quote unquote drug dealers, etc. They've actually got talents and skills what can be converted into legal skills, and legitimate ways of generating income. And we just got to have the willingness to be able to work with them, to be able to take them to the position where it not only benefits them, but benefits the rest of our community.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just to finish off on the final note, what does Leslie do for fun? What's your thing? Because we've talked about training, and you've given me every justifiable excuse, I can't go, and all the rest of it, right? Okay, what is it you do? What's your thing?
Do you know what?
For you, not involving family or friends.
Oh, for me, that's true. Yeah. Right, for me, I don't do it very often, but just sometimes go for long walks, or just put myself into a hotel and just be pampered and just not have a care in the world.
Wow, sounds great.
Yeah, those are the things that I like doing. I don't do it very often, but I like to take time and just relax and just I try reading every now and again, but a lot of time I read for work purposes, not for pleasure. I think it's mainly those things. It's just going at an easy and slow pace, just relaxing.
Slowing things down. Okay, well, you know what, Leslie, it's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned more about you today than all the years I spent with you.
I know.
But I just want to finish off on my observations of knowing you as a friend, and you're the most caring, okay, considerate, compassionate, humble, okay, courageous human being that's in my life. And I'd like to say, you know what, I wish you every success on your quest.
Yeah.
And may God protect you all the way through in your family. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's
thank
been
you,
an
Roger.
absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And as I always say, real people, real problems, real solutions. Thank you.